All right, man. Let's talk heavy in this thing, man. About it. So for the most part, Naoya Inoue defeats David Picasso. You know what I'm saying? He painted a fucking Picasso on David Picasso. He put the Beats by Dre on him. Picasso took an ass whipping though. You know, he kept trying. Mexicans are strong will. He was in great condition. He took some, vicious body shots. One thing I noticed about fighters that got a hell of a punch. I'm gonna tell y'all something. They don't believe in relentless attacks. Even though we in a generation of guys that really don't throw creative combinations or a lot of combinations, I feel like if Inoue had a sustained body attack, he possibly could have got him out of there. He double, triple shit up to the body. Every once in a while he'd throw 3 punches to the head, and then, to throw you off speed a little bit, off balance, he'd throw a really good body shot. Sometimes he throw a good body shot, he follow up 1 or 2 more, but it's really not a sustained body attack. He's a great body puncher. He throws great body shots, but he's not a great body puncher because he doesn't really have a sustained attack to the body. And if he really focuses on breaking guys down to the body, I think he wouldn't have to wait for David Picasso to throw an uppercut, and I think his uppercut would be that much more effective. I mean, he off the one a lot. I love the way he work off the one. I love the way he go around the guard. You feel what I'm saying? I love the way he attack around the guard. But if he had a sustained attack to the body for real, consistent attack to the body, bro, it'd be vicious. And Picasso was big, man. He was a big guy, and people, I heard somebody, a lot of the American fight fans, have an issue with him. You have some, black fighters, black fight fans who have an issue with him. We don't care about people that small. In reality, that is true. The casual public don't care about small fighters. Maybe that's what made Pacquiao so great. You got a really small fighter jumping up so many weight classes. But, Pacquiao is the anomaly. I don't think people understand that. Like, everybody's not going to be able to have the frame, the genetics, and the additional things to do so. But he was in there with a big guy. He looked like they was in 2 different weight classes in there. He was in there with a big guy tonight, man. And and in the reality broke him down. He paced himself. I see him pacing himself and taking his time. And reason that he probably should pace himself is from the simple fact that he throw a lot in every punch. He don't really change the speed of his punches. That's one thing you notice about Naoya Inoue. He don't change the speed of his punches a lot. He throw everything hard. And even if he takes some mustard off a shot and it's not due to conditioning, and he takes some mustard off a shot, it's subtle. It's not a big difference in what he put on the shot. So, he pretty much throwing everything at the same speed and shit. So you kind of see what I'm saying? Like, he kind of throwing shit hard regardless. So for the most part, I see him really sustain, really, conserving his energy. He fights at a pace, and it's hard to speed him up off that pace. You know what I mean? Especially when he's using a jab, he throwing uppercuts, he throwing good counter puncher going around it. And Picasso, he just didn't have the speed nor the power. Really, he didn't have the athletic attributes. I think he had the heart. I think he had the left hook. I think he had the poise. I think he had the size, he had the strength. He just didn't have the speed or the exceptional speed, the exceptional power, or he just didn't have the exceptional skill set. That was it. He wasn't good enough in some of those categories, man. That was a problem. He wasn't good enough in the speed and the power and the skill category to get it done. He was really, really, you can say he's a really poised fighter, really good fighter. Hardy was, mentored by Julio Cesar Chavez. Didn't really have the footwork of Chavez to really pivot and create those angles. He didn't have the footwork to pivot and create those angles. You know what I mean? So when he don't have the footwork to pivot and create the angles like Chavez and really get up, so he didn't have that. You know, he kind of remind me of Zepeda with the base. A lot of these young fighters, they come with a 800% or the large percentage of the 90, 75%, 80%. They base is the same. They base continues to be a wide base, which, you know, to really step over and get those angles, you really got to be exceptional athlete to have a wide base and be fleet of foot. A wide base is really signifying I'm punching for power. And for Inoue, for a little guy that's so jittery and so elusive and so saucy, you know, you probably really want to come out more with a orthodox or narrow base or regular standard base so you can kind of be on point. But, you know, they don't want to sacrifice the power. You know, but don't worry about the power. Just worry about touching them, finding them here and there. And then once you kind of get the beat, then you can kind of fall into that a little bit wider base. But when you go with those wider bases, it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder, in my opinion. Oh shit. I thought I was about to come through. That didn't even matter. Come on, baby. Come on. Okay, I don't know what they doing. I'm trying to find me a parking space. And she just But yeah, that was really the thing. He just didn't have the talent. I heard somebody gave him 3 rounds. I mean, even in that last round, you could have made a case to give it to him, but then Inoue backed him into the corner. I mean, I thought his conditioning was good, his poise was good, his balance was good. You know, he just wasn't exceptional in the speed, skill, power. You know, he wasn't good enough in those things, man. And, you know, for the most part, he wasn't creative with his punch output. With Inoue, yeah, you can punch with him. You know, he caught him with some left hooks here, caught him with some good body shots. But it has to be consistent. You know what I'm saying? And when you got a guy that's thumping like that, it's hard to be consistent. When you get that one shot off and it don't do what Akadamadov shot did to him in the 12th round, or is another guy that hurt him as well too with the left hook, dropped him. Or was it Castro or something like that? I forget the dude's name. When you don't drop him and hurt him with those type of shots, you know, and even those didn't put him down. They put him down, but then put him out. You got to be consistent. Double, triple. When you doubling, tripling, you know, and you standing right in front of the guy like that, you know, you probably, you know, it's a risk. You probably gonna get knocked out. Everybody ain't willing to get knocked out to get the knockout or get the job done. That's the thing about it. When you throw that 2 hooks that he threw, or 1 hook at a time, he landed a good one. You know what I'm saying? And then boop, 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 2 more, 3 more, 1 hard one coming back at you. You know what I'm saying? You can take that because you threw that hook and you got back there. But when you throw that hook, pop, 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 and you get caught with that shot, you going down. A lot of people can take the punch that they can see coming. It's not the punch it's the punch that they don't brace for. So that's why it's important when he's sitting in front of with that wide base. I really don't care for it a lot of time. When you sitting in front of somebody with a wide base, you throw that hook, boom, you stuck in mud. You know what I'm saying? Really, you stuck in mud. You throwing that hook, he's sitting right in front of him. He ain't creating an angle. He ain't stepping over. So when he threw that hook, you throw a hook and you step over, you turn him, you get out of his range. And it's a risk because, you know, either you smothering him, because if you keep turning him you keep pivoting the same way, he gonna clock you with a hook. You know, he just gonna wait for a right hand or whatever way you pivot, he gonna clock you with it. So either you smothering when you throw that left hook, you falling in smothering, or you sliding. You got to learn to pivot out both ways, or just get out of range, or I would say smother range or pivot. But when you throw that hook and you pivot and then you come back, that's how you be creative and you create those angles where you're not sitting right directly for him to come back. Either you smothering, either you gonna smother. When you go that hook, you gonna smother, you gonna throw 2 shots, or you gonna swim up out of there. Pivot out of there, create an angle, and go again. You know, but when you throw that hook and you just sitting there with him and you just wanted to get back on defense, I mean, you ain't gonna fuck with that guy unless you got elite power. You know what I'm saying? So when you get in there, you throw that hook, he should have been swimming up out of there. He should have pivoted out of there and then, you know, made him reset or work off the pivot. That's what he should have did. You know? That's what he should have did. But he just threw them hooks and he sat there and he balled up. He should have been smothering Inoue, or you should have been pivoting up out of there and creating more offense, or just pivoting and making a reset. You throw that hook and you just, you throw 2 or 3 shots and you just sitting there and balling up in front of him. You just protecting yourself. You ain't really trying to win. You trying not to get knocked out. You got to take chances. So that's my opinion on it. But he didn't really take no chances like that, bro. When he threw them hooks on the inside, man, he was preparing for damage to come back. He was preparing not to get knocked out. And I ain't mad at him. But if you came to win, they really should have brought that base in a little bit, or prepared him to really pivot and pivot out of there. Pivot and go. Maybe even pivot and feint, or pivot and smother. He's throwing 1 or 2 shots and he's sitting in there with the guy. He balling up so he don't get hit. My thing is this: you throw that left hook to the right, left hook to the head. He was throwing whatever he's throwing. Hey man, throw that left hook. Either smother that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Pivot up out of there. Pivot, create an angle, create some offense. It was just him sitting in front of him. Jab did some good work. But man, you gotta use that footwork to get out of there. Once you start showing them some angles and you start getting over and you start showing them some angles and shit, he ain't gonna be able to he gonna throw his punches off. All that hard shit he throwing, it gonna start missing. He gonna start getting tired when he start missing that hard shit. When you start pivoting in there and you walking into his range, you pivoting, you making a miss, but you also bringing offense back. That little he gonna see that shit. You know, after you throw that, you balling up, scared what's come back. A lot of times he might not even punch off that. He might just take a break, take the punishment, and reset you and slide off the ropes and reset you. But if you throwing that left hook, even if it's a throwaway hook to the body, throwaway hook to the head, and then you pivot off of that a little bit, or you smother and hold him, like if you pivot off of it, then you create more offense. He's gonna catch up on that pivot though. So when you pivot, sometimes you might want to pivot feint or pivot, smother, or just prepare for something to come, but you making them think. And you making them off balance. So if you pivot and you stepping over, he got to reset his feet. You're going to beat that kid you got to beat him because of his feet. Either you going to, keep him on the ropes. Even when they on the ropes with him, they're not working like they really should be working. You know what I'm saying? He able to buy time. He like, all right, nigga. Boop, boop, boop. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really think he was creative enough offensively in this fight. He really fought not to get knocked out. It's hard to see with the naked eye, but he should have been smothering. He should have been, creating angles off the pivot and working, but it is what it is. Inoue was a good fighter. I heard the other dude, he fought Juntao Nakatani. I heard he robbed a Mexican tonight. A lot of people saying I seen a guy say Mexican won by 2. That means that motherfucker won by 4, 5 rounds. So it is what it is. Hopefully they do right by him, get them the bread, but they couldn't fuck up the bag. Politics is politics, whether it's turkey, ham, salami. Politics is politics. But I hit the link in the description, join the Patreon, find me on Facebook, Instagram, Kick, Twitch, Amazon, the whole 9. Peace.